This is Jeff Rains coming to you again with Foundation of Civilization. And this is my weekly rundown of news events from across the world. The things that I find important and very telling about what direction we're heading in the world. So what's been happening around the world? There's been a lot of violence across the United States and actually plenty across the world also. There's also been some flirting with peace deals, but nothing solid yet. How are the European countries preparing for war, increasing their defense capabilities? How is the U.S. president's policies affecting the economy? What acts of violence have the media incited this week? Let me give you a rundown. This is my weekly video. It is June 7th, 2025. Starting with oil, West Texas Intermediate crude has ended the week at $64.58. Brent ended the week at $66.57, and OPEC baskets ended at $65.10. Gold ended the week at $3,311.70. Silver actually grew quite a bit this week, which is something that I've expected to happen for some time. Ended the week at $35.98. The Baltic Exchange Dry Goods Index also was feeling much better this week and ended at $1,626. The U.S. bond yields were at 4.512%. The U.K. bond yields were at 4.652%. And the Japanese bond yields were at 1.459%. Something that I've found this week is the size of the bond market. I'm going to do a more extensive video on this to go into details, especially how it relates to the U.S. debt. But I want you to understand that the bond market is key to most countries' economic future, at least the way the countries conduct business today. The global bond market is estimated to be about $140 trillion. This figure is larger than the global stock market, which is estimated to be around $115 trillion. The U.S. bond market is the largest, accounting for roughly $55 trillion, or 39.3% of the global trade. Excuse me, of the global bond market. The military naval deployments, the ISR aircraft continue their flights all across the United States, especially northern Mexico, or southern United States, which is looking into northern Mexico, and the surveillance of the western U.S. mountains, and they also had some emphasis on the East Coast this week. Of the 293 ships of the U.S. Navy, 99 are deployed, 69 are underway. USS George Washington was in the Philippine Sea, along with the USS America. The Carl Vinson is operating in the Arabian Sea with US CENTCOM. The USS Abraham Lincoln, the last report we had, was in San Diego. The Harry S. Truman breathed a sigh of relief and returned home to Norfolk, Virginia after its very troubled cruise, 80-day cruise that it had. The USS Nimitz was operating in the South China Sea. It transited the Singapore Straits. This has when it entered the South China Sea, it has created some tension with the Chinese Navy, which is, I believe, the goal. The last report we had, USS Ronald Reagan was away from its home port in Bremerton, Washington. The USS Tripoli departed San Diego this week. USS Wasp last report was in Norfolk. USS Iwo Jima was operating off of the East Coast. The USS Gerald R. Ford was away from Norfolk at last report. And no word on the USS George H.W. Bush. In the European markets, the DAX ended the week at 24,304.46. The FTSE ended the week at 8,837.91. The CAC 40 ended the week at 7,804.87. And the IBEX ended the week at 14,247.60. Now, after France, UK, and Germany have had struggles over the past few years. Now the Netherlands government are falling to new elections. People all around the world are getting fed up with the governments. The governments are coming apart. We'll see if the governments listen to the people or not in the upcoming election. As I've been saying, Europe's move to increase their military power is hitting hurdles. Germany's defense chief notes that they need an additional 60,000 troops to meet their goals that have been laid out for NATO. Germany has also had the same trouble that the United States has with weaponization of its bureaucracies. And I'm quoting a former head of this agency, Hans-Georg Maaßen, noted that he's a German lawyer, former senior civil servant who served as president of the Federal Office of Protection of the Constitution, BfV, which is Germany's domestic intelligence agency. He served there from 2012 to 2018, and he noted that the intelligence agency has been weaponized to attack political rivals. We've seen that going on in the United States for quite some time. He went on to say that I believe that an Interior Minister Nancy Faeser either directly instructed the BfV to act, or that the agency's president, Thomas Haldenwang, took this step on his own initiative out of political motivation. In another repudiation of wishy-washy politicians, Poland elected a populist president. Congratulations to President, and I hope I pronounce this right, Naraki, the newly elected president of Poland. I'm sure there will be some fun challenges as they transition. A huge concern about the successful Ukrainian drone attack is escalation. In a phone conversation with the U.S. president, the Russian president promised he will retaliate. He has to retaliate after Ukraine's attack. And it appears that troops may be on the move to do just that. Now, if you would, please, if you're finding any benefit from this video, please help me feed my addiction on reporting the news by liking, sharing, and subscribing. And if you have any feedback or ideas, please leave a comment. Over in Asia, the Nikkei ended the week at 37,741.61. The SSE index ended the week at 3,385.36. And the Hang Seng index ended at 23,792.54. The Sensex ended at 81,188.99, and the Nifty 50 ended at 25,003.05. The demographics collapse in Japan deepens with just 686,061 babies born last year. This is even lower than the projected births. That North Korean destroyer that capsized as it was launched has been righted, claims North Korea, but also confirmed by some satellite images. After a phone call between the U.S. and Chinese leaders, the U.S. president claims they are in good shape and trade talks will continue, which is actually very good for most of the world, especially China. India is expanding its infrastructure by building a railroad from Kashmir, the disputed Kashmir region, to the Indian plains. And Bangladesh is planning on holding elections in April of 2026. This according to their interim leader, Yunus. In the Middle East, the first casualty of war is the truth. And in another effort to mislead the public, Hamas made false claims of an additional 31 people being killed by Israel. Many media outlets publish this lie without any investigation. And this is as if there aren't enough Gazans that are being killed already. Hamas has to make up more, but traditional media validates our mistrust in them by failing at their jobs once again. The IDF and Shin Bet confirmed that they had killed one of the Hamas leaders, Mohammed Sinwar, in May 13th strike on a tunnel under the South Gaza hospital. Syria has been quiet for a couple of weeks, but now it's back to its normal violence. ISIS in Syria claims to have killed 7 soldiers of the new government's military. This was on 2 days, on May 22nd and May 28th. In 2023, the UN allowed sanctions banning Iran from buying materials to build ballistic missiles to expire. No one bothered to re-engage these sanctions. Now they're buying materials to build, well, in this case, I believe it's to fuel 800 missiles. Thank you very much for our world order. Iran continues to be defiant in talks with the USA over uranium enrichment. The U.S. is determined that Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb. Military asset movement over the past week suggests an operation is about to kick off. That's military assets of the United States and Western powers. In Africa, Niger has directed the Red Cross offices to close, and most of the foreign staff have left after they got the expulsion order. Economic hardships are making the Muslim celebration of Eid more difficult with the rising price of rams. And this is in Nigeria. Russia is pulling out the Wagner mercenary group, but it is leaving Russia's Africa Corps in Mali. The Wagner group and Russia's Africa Corps have been fighting against terrorists in the state, in many of those states, including Mali. Also in Mali, their army foiled an attack in Timbuktu. This was unfortunately a day after jihadist assault killed 30 soldiers. Several of the soldiers witnessed a car approaching, and suspiciously, they were able to stop it and keep it. It was a car bomb, and they were able to keep it from getting anywhere and arrested the perpetrators. In the Americas, Dow Jones average ended the week at 42,762.87. The S&P ended the week at 6,036 cents. The NASDAQ ended at 19,529.95. Interestingly enough, at least interestingly for me, Panama has been looking at its ship registry and has removed 650 over the past several years. I believe it was since 2017. They have been, this is after scrutiny over Iran sanctions. They didn't want anybody being able to circumvent the sanctions being put on by the major powers, by the European Union and the United States. As the U.S. President, one of the questions that I asked, as the U.S. President's tariffs have been taking effect, it has cut imports, raised exports, and as a result, the trade deficit has been cut in half. And I quote from the article in Market Watch, the U.S. international trade deficit narrowed 55.5% in April to $61.6 billion. This according to the Commerce Department on Thursday. This is down from a record $140.9 billion in March, which March would have been before the tariffs started to take place. As a result of a lot of things, including tariffs, and my guess is probably a little bit to do with some of the illegal immigrants being rounded up and sent home or voluntarily heading home, wages have risen. It's only 0.8% last month, but if that continues, U.S. workers would be looking at a 4% growth for the year. And this is even after taking into consideration the effects of inflation. In fact, I have a chart here showing you kind of how wages have gone over the past many years. the how wages have worked with inflation or against inflation. The FBI this past week conducted a raid in Minnesota, but it was thwarted by locals who hit, kicked, punched the FBI SWAT team that was conducting the raid. The crowd was told, falsely, that it was an ICE immigration raid. Instead, it was a raid on a drug cartel to break up their money laundering business. CISA is the office that coordinates domestic social media spying, censorship, and psychological operations, and it is getting cut by a third. My only problem is that leaves 2/3 left to violate our First Amendment rights. And CISA stands for the Cyber Security and Infrastructure Security Agency. Of course, like many government agencies, they're given a name that may or may not align with their stated goals. In fact, their stated goals may or may not align with their actual goals. Last Sunday, no, I'm going to do this other one first. Going along with the immigration raids here in the South, ICE and South Carolina law enforcement raided an illegal nightclub. In total, 80 arrests were made. One of the most high-profile arrests was that of Sergio Joel Gallo Baca, a Honduran illegal immigrant and foreign fugitive with an active Interpol red notice for homicide in Honduras. How he got across the border, well, who knows? I'm sure he got across the border under the last administration. Last Sunday, in a horrific anti-Semitic and attack, an Egyptian illegal immigrant launched a homemade flamethrower attack on a Jewish group jogging to highlight the hostages that are still in Gaza. According to news reports, 8 people were injured in the attack. In another validation of the U.S. President's position on foreign student visas, we find out that China favored Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. Many of the officials of the Chinese Communist Party enjoyed going there, and they call it their party school. I believe they mean the Chinese Communist Party, not the alcohol club or an alcohol club. For many years, China has been building all sorts of power equipment for customers all around the world, especially solar panels. And the whole time, they've been building it into the panels crash switches so they can shut down our grid. And they can shut down the grid of anybody that they have sold these panels to. Not only is China rigging our electrical system, they're smuggling in dangerous fungus that could destroy most of our grain agriculture. And I quote from an article of NBC Chicago. 33-year-old University of Michigan employee Young King Jian is in custody in Detroit, being held without bond, while her 34-year-old boyfriend, Dr. Zhanyong Liu, is a fugitive in China, where he works at a Chinese university. They're accused of flying to the United States carrying fungus in small plastic bags, aiming to use the fungus to infect farm fields from the ground up. There's so many stories that occur each week. I always have to question what I need to cover. I think I will cover one more story, and that is of the former president's press secretary. Karine Jean-Pierre has elected to leave the Democrat Party and become an independent. That leads me to question and to wonder just how bad is the polling that she's looking at to make her go, it's time for me to get out of here. Now, of course, she makes claims that it is, a moral decision for her. The party just isn't going in the same direction. The circumstances in the country are not right, and all, of course. But as some people say, it's always a financial decision. She has a book coming out, and so she's trying to draw some more attention to herself. But I think that there is something much more behind it. I think that she's recognizing that there's some serious problems that the Democrat Party has to deal with. They need to figure out how to actually represent the people of the United States once again. This is all that I have for my rundown this week. As I said before, please help me with my addiction. Like, share, and subscribe. Make any replies in the comments below if you like it. If you don't like it, please get prepared for the challenges and the changes that are coming ahead in our world. Get with your families, hug them, love on them, and take some time for yourself too. Make sure that you're going to be doing okay. Much love to everybody. I hope that y'all are doing well, and I look forward to speaking to you guys again in the near future. That's all for this week, and I will talk to you guys again soon.